Could it be? With me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to this bonus podcast episode. As I had a chance to chop it up one-on-one with rapper Big Pooh, one half of the iconic rap duo Little Brother. We talked about a bevy of topics, and I would have felt a bit remiss if I didn't bring up the Kendrick-Drake beef. So we talked about that. He had some interesting takes on that situation, and so we chopped it up, talked about that. We then transitioned into his love of sports, and it was so refreshing to talk to someone with a similar passion for sports like myself. And we delved into the NBA. I mean, we talked about the NBA for a long time. The NBA playoffs, the association overall. He's a Wizards fan, so we talked about the state of the Washington Wizards. And there are a lot of parallels between the Wizards and where they are as an organization and where the Commanders are. And so we talked about the Commanders. He's also a Commanders fan, as he grew up in the DMV as well. So we talked about all of these different topics. It was a very long episode, longer than I was expecting it to be, because time flies when you're having fun. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I hope you enjoyed listening to this as much as I did having this conversation with rapper Big Pooh. And so I contemplated whether breaking this thing up because it was such a long interview, but I said, oh, what the hell? I'm just going to let it rock. It's such a great interview. I don't want to break it up. I don't want you to have to wait for part 2 or 3 or whatever. Just going to give it to you all at once. Without any further ado, let's go in the mind of rapper Big Pooh. Enjoy. Look who carved out some time for us. For those of you who don't know, this is one half of the iconic rap duo Little Brother. Also a hell of a solo artist. If you haven't checked out his latest project, To Dream in Color, do yourself a favor, do that. As you're going to find out today, he's more than beats. He's more than rhymes. Please, y'all, he's not your average everyday find. Talking about the incomparable rapper Big Pooh. Thank you for joining us today, man. How you doing?
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me, man. I'm doing well, man. I can't complain. I woke up to see another day, so
I hear that, bro.
All
Likewise.
You can do is smile. Absolutely.
I second that. So I wanted to start off because I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't start off talking about a little bit of music. I want to kind of keep the conversation more towards sports, because I want to have you on at a later date and time on my other channel, MusicHead University. Shameless plug. If you haven't already subbed up to the channel, MusicHead University, do yourself a favor, go ahead and do that. Mods, if you're out there, go ahead, help the kid out. Drop the link to that down in the comment section. But I wanted to ask you 2 questions in particular. All right. Okay. So 1, what do you think of rap beefs? 2, give me your overall take on the latest beef that we just witnessed, Kendrick versus Drake.
Rap beefs. I don't have a problem with them as long as they stay music. You know what I'm saying? Music oriented. Yeah. We've lost, greats to real beefs. You know what I mean? They weren't just on wax. They was very personal. Right. But I don't have a problem with it as long as they stay on wax, and I don't even care about them getting personal. I was me and Fonte and I, we were talking, obviously during this whole thing, and one of the things we were really trying to figure out, or at least I was trying to figure out, is I know when it did, but how rap beefs have become more. Now it's more so. What's the gossip?
Of course.
We need something salacious to reveal in order to win. The rap beef. When back in the day, like I was listening to the old Beanie Siegel and Jada disses, and it was, I rap better than you,
right?
And I'm gonna show you how many creative ways I can rhyme about killing you,
like
which, and I don't think they really wanted to kill each other, but
right.
you know, that was the extent of it. You didn't get
Yeah.
personal stuff, you know, a
It's
lot of
funny
personal.
that you say that because, you know, rap beefs originated where it wasn't even really beef. It was like who could rock the mic the best,
The
right?
best.
Who could
Yeah.
move the party, right? Who could move the
Right.
party the best, right? That's how it originated, right? And somewhere along the lines, it went from there to now I'm paying somebody to get information on you to try and, you know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy where we've evolved to or de-evolved, if you will.
It's more about embarrassing
Yeah.
embarrassing you personally than
Yeah.
it is skill.
That's right.
But overall, I don't have a big problem with them. Like I said, as long as they stay where they need to stay, and that's on wax or online or whatever. As far as the one we just experienced, that was a strategic. That was a lesson in strategy. That's what it was. You know, my whole thing about it always, well, not always, but it ended up being these two gentlemen were in a Cold War of sorts, right? They were trading subs for over a decade.
Yes.
With that being said, if I'm trading subs with somebody for over a decade, if the other person decides they want to jump all the way out the porch and call me out and really go, I'm like, okay, not that I'm scared to go, but I'm like, okay, hold on, let me take a step back because you got a plan.
Yeah.
I have to believe that you have some sort of plan for you to say, okay, today's the day.
Right.
And I believe that wasn't discussed on one side. That the possibility of the plan wasn't discussed.
I'll go ahead and name for you. You're talking about Aubrey, okay? He wasn't prepared, right?
He wasn't prepared, and I don't know if that was hubris or ego or whatever it is. I don't know. Don't really, not too concerned about it, but I just don't think he was prepared for what became. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that was where it was won. Like, before we get to the rapping, the beat picking, the information, whether lies or not, who cares? But it was the strategy.
That's right.
Where you lost. Absolutely. Like, you lost before you started because of the strategy. And I thought that was brilliant.
Absolutely.
that was brilliant.
It was so tactical on Kendrick's part because so many people were killing him. I think it was like a 14-day period between when Drake dropped the push-ups.
Push-ups, yeah.
And when he responded with Euphoria, and everybody was like, oh, and you know, we had people doing Kendrick response counters and all of that stuff. And that whole time he was in the lab cooking
in the
up
lab.
crap. And he had him in the tuck and he was ready. And when he dropped Euphoria, he had another one. And then he had another one. And then he had another one.
and that was the thing. It was like, it was almost like an ambush. Like you fired and you got ambushed. And then when you thought it was safe to poke your head up, you got ambushed again. I mean, just to have the track that you know, I don't care what he said. You know that was his red button.
Oh, yeah.
When he had the visual component to go with it.
Oh, yeah.
And to have that stepped on not even an hour later.
Yeah.
Was something that totally changes the mood. I think Joe Budden said that. Like, you have, once again, before you get into the rapping or any of that, the beat, like, it changed the whole mood. And now attention go. The mood changed so much that nobody was talking about the supposed red button that he dropped. I mean, you know, people obviously it was in mind, but it was like, holy shit. Like, I've never seen somebody step on somebody's record the way Kendrick stepped on that record. And that just goes back to strategy.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. It was so crazy. He dropped that video and he did it at like 11 o'clock at night. So he probably thought, okay, I got him, right? I got him. Right? Because he's not responding at midnight, right? And what he failed to realize is that he was planning on all of this. And my thing with Drake too, with this whole thing was he was going with this whole 20v1 narrative, right? And I'm like, bro, you really need to just focus all of your attention on Kendrick.
It's one versus one right now.
Like you so worried about spreading around smoke for all of these different dudes. And the one guy you really need to be focused on is killing you right now, right?
And that was part of the issue. That was part strategy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then, one more thing. How about J. Cole's decision to back out of that thing after he realized, I really don't want this smoke, right? People were killing J. Cole for, apologizing for 7-minute drill. But in the aftermath of what Kendrick did to Drake, I think a lot of people gained a greater appreciation for Kendrick, saying, you know what? And you know what's crazy about their situation is they really didn't have any beef.
No,
they really didn't have any beef. That was just people getting in J. Cole's ear, telling him that you better than these dudes, you better than him. Because for a long time they were teasing a project together, right?
Yeah, I think they're, like you said. I mean, Cole even said it himself, and I just want to say this. People were calling, and obviously someone retracted that after they seen what happened, but they were calling Cole, weak and all types of things. And I always said that the way he apologized, the fact he apologized, the public apology at his festival on stage in front of 20, 30, 40,000, how many people were there, like that wasn't weakness. That took a lot of guts, strength, to know you're going to be ridiculed on some level, and to make your apology as loud as the diss track was. And I just think probably through conversations and him realizing it, like, yo, this really didn't have anything to do about me. I don't think he thought about it at the time, because obviously he was caught up in it, but I don't think he realized at the time, like, Kendrick was sending you a warning, and it wasn't a warning about I'm going to diss you. Right. It was a warning of who you standing beside.
Right.
And I think once he started realizing all that through, like I said, through conversations, through regret of doing it, whatever it was, I think once he realized that, it was like, okay, I got to definitely step out this thing, because Kendrick was focused. Yeah. His focus all along was on one person.
Absolutely.
Like we said, Drake should have been focused on one person. That's Kendrick's whole focus was on one person. So, I think Cole just realized that and said, this ain't my ball game. Right?
Yeah, no. He's like, you sure? Like, Kendrick was like, you sure you want to do this?
You sure?
You sure you want to do this? And Cole was like, you know what? Nah. And you can't get much more sincere than, like you said, doing it in front of 20, 30,000 people on stage, knowing what's going to come of that, but understanding this means more to me than what could potentially happen if I don't do this. You know what I'm saying? So,
absolutely.
Kudos to Cole for, and Cole's never been one to really care about what people think. So he wasn't really going to be fazed about what people kind of said about him in doing that. He knew, in order for me to have a peace of mind, because that's what's more important to him.
Yeah, I gotta step out this thing. Yeah. And full disclosure to the watchers and listeners, if you don't know, I'm, to be transparent, I've worked with all three gentlemen at different points of their career. And the one thing I'll say about Cole is, as genuine as he come across, that's how genuine he is.
Yeah. Yep.
So when I saw him taking that step to apologize, I was like, yeah, like whatever he's saying, he really means that. Yeah. Like, and my only question for Cole would have been through this whole thing was, hey man, what made you think that was for you, bro?
Right.
Right. Nothing in that even when I heard it, I was like, yeah, nah, that sounds like a warning to, hey, you might want to step away from this guy for a while, if not period. Like, that's what I heard when I heard it. Like, so that would have been my, I guess whenever I talk to Cole again, that's gonna be my only question. Hey, bro, what made you thought that was about you?
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? But hey, man, our ego get the best of all of us at some point in time.
Facts. So, I'm just glad he was able to wrangle his in enough time to save himself from having to jump into an arena that he really didn't want to get into.
No, because that got messy.
That got messy fast. That
That
was
got
like a
messy.
shooting star. That beef was, like you said, the subs were over about a decade long. Pretty much after the Control verse,
Yes.
we've had subs back and forth. But as long as we waited for this thing to finally bubble up, it was so quick.
Quick.
It was
A
like a
week.
shooting
Well,
star. It just exploded, right?
it
It was
felt like a week,
beautiful,
but
and it was gone just like that.
just like that. And I, seeing the memes of, oh no, please continue. We could be back to $200 dates and rents due posts. Like, bring back the beef. Like that was the funny part. Like, no. Let's bring back decoding these lyrics again. I wanna read about quintuple entendres. Like, I don't want to read about $200 dates today. Like,
oh man, that's hilarious, man. Oh, so many good things came out of that. But anyway, let's get to Big Pooh. Let's get to Pooh, the sports fan. So I was so intrigued after talking to you for the first time. And that happened a while ago on Big Doug's show.
Yeah, shout out to Big Doug.
Big shout out to Big Doug, man. Really appreciate Big Doug for even allowing this connection to happen. And I'm supposed to be doing a show with Big Doug here in the near future, so hopefully he get back to me and we can set that up. But in talking to you, I didn't realize how big of a sports fan you were. And then he's a great follow. If you don't follow him on social media, he's a great follow on social media. And it's funny because a lot of your takes, I kind of feel the same way. There's a few of them I'm like, hey, Pooh tripping. But for the most part, we kind of in sync with a lot of the things that we feel. And so before we even get to, some of the current events in sports, let's go back a bit and talk about like where your love for sports came. So if I understand this right, you fell in love with sports before you fell in love with music, right or wrong?
Right. I'm definitely, sports is 1A, 1B. I definitely, I've loved sports as far back as I can remember. Yeah. And I would like to say I got it from my father. Yeah. I didn't meet him till I was 19, but once I did, I realized like,
where it came
okay,
from.
this is where I got it from. But I've loved sports as far back as I can remember.
I mean, if you listen to the music, then we already knew that. You didn't even have to tell us that part. I mean, it's in the music, right? It's in the music. But anyway, so I, in talking to you, I realized you were from VA. I didn't know that initially. I think that's one of the common misconceptions is, oh, okay, little brother, North Carolina, and you just assume that's where y'all are from. But you from VA. Now, before we get to that, 757 or 804?
Neither. 703.
703. So you more DMV.
I'm DMV.
You DMV. Okay. You DMV.
Yeah. Okay, I grew up in Alexandria, Fairfax County, went to high school in Reston. Yeah.
Okay. So you are definitely DMV then, is what you're telling me. So with that said, let me take a stab at this. If you're 703, it means that, are you a baseball fan?
I am.
Okay, so you grew up around the same time that I did, so there were no Nats, so you're an Orioles fan.
Correct. They were the Montreal Expos.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Some Moises Alou. That's what we talking about.
Absolutely. I had a Montreal Expos hat before I lost it. That thing was sexy
my
too.
Goodness.
Fly.
Stop it, man. Oh, now look, those colors, that logo, it was
amazing.
Dope.
It was
we're not going front on that, right?
Yeah, the team wasn't, but
no, at all. Now they had that 1 year, the strike year, 94. They were killing it.
That's when they had young Vladimir Guerrero. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
So Orioles, clearly you're gonna be you were a Bullets fan. You grew up a Bullets fan.
I did.
Okay. A lot of people see, this is when we show our age. A lot of people don't realize that once upon a time they had Jawan Howard,
Chris Webber,
and Rasheed Wallace all on the same roster. Like, people don't really understand what they were out there doing, right? Like, that is crazy to even think about that. When you think about what all of those players ended up being in the league, especially Rasheed Wallace and Chris Webber, it's amazing to think that all three of them were all on the same roster at the same time.
Same time.
Crazy.
And I remember vividly Chris Webber's first game because he didn't start.
Mhm.
And when he checked in, just the ovation that he received, and I remember that vividly. I listen. I thought we had something there.
You did. It was short lived, but
it was short lived. But I was like, yo, we going. Oh my god,
Yeah.
we got Chris Webber. Oh my god, this is gonna be crazy.
it was crazy, bro.
Yeah, they crashed out very quickly.
Oh
but.
man, we just talked about shooting stars. That's exactly what that was, right?
Oh yeah.
And then obviously we've talked before, so I already know that you're a Commanders fan, Redskins fan. So long suffering, I would say. But we'll come back and we'll touch on football. So I want to start with basketball and the playoffs, because I think of all the playoff sports, right? I think I love NBA playoffs the most. I think because I love the adjustment aspect of playoff basketball, and I love the fact that every possession matters. The little things matter more so. Like in the regular season, you miss 12 free throws, you turn it over 18 times. Who cares? We'll get them next time, right?
Oh, that matters in the playoffs.
Oh, you can't do that. The Mavericks just lost the game because they missed 12 free throws, including Luka missing a chance to tie the game up, right?
Yep.
So everything matters. Every possession matters. Like they were getting on D'Lo because he had a bad turnover in the first round against the Nuggets, and LeBron knows the importance of taking care of the basketball. You can't do that against teams that are better than you. And so I just love that aspect of playoff basketball. You lose a game or you lose two games, you go home, you make an adjustment. All right, Knicks, they start Deuce McBride, right? And that gave them a spark. So I love the adjustment aspect. So I want to talk about the NBA playoffs. And before we get to the particular series, give me your biggest disappointment this year in the playoffs thus far.
It's probably the Zion Williamson injury.
Yeah.
So we weren't able to really see. It's probably the injuries, period.
Yeah.
Injuries are part of the game.
Yeah.
I don't believe it's because they play 82 games or any of that talk. But I think the injuries kind of took steam out of the first round, at least.
For sure.
With Zion being hurt, Giannis and Dame being hurt. So definitely the injuries. I think that's probably was the biggest disappointment. But specifically not seeing the Pelicans whole and seeing if they would have been able to work their way out of that first round series and eventually make it to the second round. I think that's probably, it's like right when you thought they was there, it's like, yo, we finally got, we get to see the Pelicans, we get to see Zion. He's playing phenomenal. I mean, that game he went out, he was killing it.
Yeah.
And then it's done. It's like Zion is done, and it's like, come on, are you again?
Again, right?
Serious?
Again. That's
like,
what I said.
We here again?
Yeah.
And I think that's probably been the most disappointing thing, because other than that, the series is. I mean, the playoffs are kind of playing out
the way that you thought.
The way I thought they would go.
Oh, we got to talk then. If you thought it was going to go the way that they're going.
Yeah, I mean, because I didn't see the Timberwolves jumping on the Nuggets like they did.
Yeah.
But we see how quickly the Nuggets adjusted.
Yeah.
So I didn't see that. I definitely thought Dallas was a better team than what people were. The way they built their team this season, at the trade deadline, was perfect. It just took PJ Washington a little longer to get acclimated. Yep. So that's going. I'm not surprised by Dallas's, the way they're playing. I probably in the, you shift to the East, what the Knicks are out here doing, with their decimated squad. Yep. I mean, that looks amazing.
Yep.
But it's a Tom Thibodeau team. Yep. Like, they're not going to quit. They're not going to give up. somebody's gonna play 48 minutes. Some like
Josh Hart.
what it's gonna look like. Josh Hart is the blowout is the only thing that saves him from not playing, 3 48-minute games in the playoffs. So I mean it's shaping up. The Celtics, they play when they want to play. They if they not hitting threes, it's gonna be a tough night. If they hitting threes, good luck staying anywhere close to them.
Yeah.
That's kind of how they play.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, the biggest it's not really been as a team moves on. I'm not sitting there like, what that happened. Yeah. Like it's not that. It's like I can see that.
So I'm gonna go back to your original point of Zion, and I really think that changed the whole complexion of the postseason because first of all, I think they beat the Lakers in that play-in game, right?
Yes.
And so they would have been the 7th seed. They would have took on Minnesota, or would that have been Denver? I don't know what would have happened in that series. I still think Denver would have gotten them, but that would have changed because I really think the Lakers would have beaten OKC in the series. I really truly think that the experience of the Lakers, knowing that Chet can't touch AD and LeBron can get anywhere on the court against them, I think they would have beaten them because you saw what it took. Even though it was a 4-1 series against Denver, it took 2 Jamal Murray game winners, and a come from behind victory in game 1 for them to win that series. So they take that same energy to OKC. I think they would have beaten them.
Yeah, I think they probably would have beat OKC, but I don't think they would have beat Dallas in the second round.
No. I don't think they would have beaten. First of all, the Lakers aren't a good enough team. They're not a complete team.
No.
But I think so. The only reason I say that about OKC is because they lack experience. Right?
I can see that. I definitely could have seen. I could have seen them. I think that series would have won 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm. They wouldn't have swept them like they did.
Nah, because
the Pellies without Zion.
AD can be phenomenal today, and
facts.
Tomorrow he's just okay, and because I think the Lakers' biggest problem is, for as talented as AD is, LeBron. That team still goes off of LeBron having to be the best player every night.
Yeah, and
that's not where they should be at this stage in both of their careers. It shouldn't be. LeBron still has to, show up like he has to show up.
Yep.
Not saying he can cruise. They don't have enough of anything for him to cruise, but he shouldn't be the best player on that team at this point in his career.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think they could have got Oklahoma City. It would have been a fight. They would have had a fight on their hands, but I think they could have got them. And then they would have just ran into Luka and Kyrie, and it would have been a nightmare.
Yeah. And you spoke about injuries, and don't forget Kawhi, right? He's always hurt. It's almost easy to forget about him because he's always hurt, right?
I just knew. I was like, when he got hurt, I was like, yeah.
Exactly, right? Like he didn't think nothing of it.
It was gonna be him or Paul George. Somebody wasn't gonna play,
right?
Yeah.
So that wasn't a surprise that he wasn't able to help them in that series. But so we can go series by series and talk about how we got to this point. I think one of the most disappointing aspects of the postseason for me was the 76ers, because I thought they were probably the best competition for the Celtics in the East. And like Tobias Harris is one of the most disappointing enigma players in the NBA. In a closeout game, you take 4 shots and score 0 points. I mean, that's so Tobias Harris, though, first and foremost. It's so Tobias Harris to do that.
But you forget he's even on the court.
It's so easy to forget he's on it. He'll play 32 minutes and take 5 shots and score 2 points and think nothing of it. And my dad is a 76ers fan. So it drives him nuts with Tobias Harris. He's like, yo, he's got to go. And he's gone. He's going to end up in Orlando or somewhere this offseason. And I think a great move for Philadelphia would be to go after a guy like Paul George. Like, that's the kind of player that they need.
Yeah, because the thing with Philly, I had forgot all about Philly. The thing with Philly is they never replaced, not necessarily what James Harden brought to the team, but they didn't replace that slot
Yeah.
effectively. And that made Tobias Harris have to be the third wheel here when he shouldn't be the third wheel if you have championship aspirations, unfortunately. So I think that was the thing with Philly is they never really filled that scoring, filled that playmaking. They never filled that role. So you got Embiid playing phenomenal on one leg. You got Maxey out here doing all he can. They running doubles at him to get him off the ball, and you don't have that other person to take some of that load off, and because you can't depend on Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
And so I think that was the biggest thing with Philly. That's why I didn't really, as I watched them play, and I know Embiid was out there on one leg, I was like, I don't see. I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have won that first round series, but I really didn't. New York plays too hard.
Yeah.
Like they play too hard for you to have any slip ups versus them, and to get a series out of them. You're gonna have to beat them. Like you're gonna have to take it from them. And Philly didn't have enough firepower to take it.
Speaking of the Knicks, do they not give you 94 Knick vibes? Like, does not Josh Hart not remind you of like John Starks?
He do. I told a friend, so I got a gambling group chat.
Yeah.
And so that's all we talk about in sports, obviously, because we're gambling on them. But
right.
I told, because somebody in the chat is a Knicks fan, and I told him, I said, man, I think Julius Randle is a good player, but I like the Knicks without Julius Randle. Aesthetically, they play a different type of ball game because you only got one ball dominant person,
right?
In Brunson versus two ball dominant people. Who now Julius Randle probably would have been, a big help in the playoffs, but I like the way they play without Julius Randle. Like it's aesthetically pleasing the way they play without Randle. But I think the OG injury, the Mitchell Robinson injury, the Bogdanovich, it's becoming
too much. It's too
becoming
much.
way too much. I mean, Brunson is hurt. He's out there playing on a bad foot. And I just think all of that it's becoming too much. And why they may squeak out of this Pacers series, it's a lot. That's a lot to overcome.
It's amazing though how much depth they have. Like Alec Burke is a walking bucket. And you forgot he was even on the bench.
Yeah, because Tom Thibodeau don't like to use his bench.
Right.
That's the problem.
I mean, I forgot the man was even on. I forgot that Precious Achiuwa was even on that bench. That he came over in the OG Anunoby trade. I forgot. He was even over there.
He was starting. Like he got some starts under his belt. So
it's crazy. But
I think Tom Thibodeau.
Oh my God, Pooh, you hit it so much on the head, bro. I think this is like, they're probably not going to agree with us, but I think this is showing that they don't need Julius Randle. I don't think they need Julius Randle. I really don't, because now here's the problem. You're probably going to lose Isaiah Hartenstein in free agency, more likely than not, because you already paid Mitchell Robinson. And Hartenstein, with the way he's playing, man almost had a triple-double the other night. The way he's playing, the man had more offensive rebounds than the Pacers had rebounds in the first half.
But the thing, so this is where, and obviously I'm not in Hartenstein's pockets. I don't know his financial situation, but this is where money, obviously if it's hard to turn down, like this is probably going to be the best deal of your career coming up because of the way you played in the playoffs, but do you fit somewhere else like you fit on this next team?
I can tell you right now. I'm a Grizzlies fan. He would fit perfect in Memphis.
Okay. Because you got like Hartenstein he's been a journeyman up until this point.
He has.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like people don't remember Hartenstein. This ain't his first rodeo.
No,
like he's played for a few teams, so he just found a system that works.
Yeah,
for the way he plays, and so the Grizzlies that might actually be something right there. But I for me, it's just one of them things. Like he gonna get his bread, which he should, but you got to be mindful of the situation you go into as well.
Facts.
Because if you, obviously you want to get your bread, but I have to assume that most of these guys, if not all of them, are also competitors.
Yeah.
And it's hard to go from, the atmosphere that's the New York Knicks, and then you walk into Utah.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a totally different animal, but I know these dudes try to maximize.
You have to.
Their playing careers, and if you can get 14, 15 million a year, it's gonna be hard for him to turn that down this offseason. The way he's playing, I was so hoping that because early in the playoffs, Mitchell Robinson was playing the most meaningful minutes late in games. So I was like, hopefully they kind of phase him out. Tibbs does the Tibb thing and kind of, goes to Mitchell Robinson almost exclusively, and Hartenstein kind of gets cleanup minutes, and he just wants to leave, and then it kind of takes his value and puts it in a place where we can afford it. Because if he wants 14, 15, we can't pay him that. We can't afford that.
Because I think the reason why Hartenstein works for this iteration of the Knicks versus Mitchell Robinson is because there's no Randall.
Yeah, exactly.
So Hartenstein is a better he's a better ball handler, a better passer than Mitchell Robinson is. So he's more effective in his role because you can actually throw the ball down to him and he's going to make the right read.
Yep.
He's going to make the right play.
Yep.
Like you said, he almost had a triple-double the other night. Yep. And he gives you the hustle, the grit, the rebounding. He's going to block some shots. Yep. He's a better scorer than Mitchell Robinson is. Yep. So, he got the little floater. Mitchell Robinson is just a better defender.
Yep.
And his rebounding rate is ridiculous, his offensive rebounding rate. But I think losing Hartenstein is gonna affect the Knicks a lot. They lose Hartenstein, but I just hope if it means taking, I just hope he goes to the right situation. I'll say it like that. I don't want nobody to have to take no pay cut, but if he goes to the right situation, like a Grizzlies, a team of that ilk, I think he'll be fine. But I can assume he wants his money, but he don't want to be a traveling man anymore. Because like I said, he found his tribe in New York.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what kind of decision he makes. But so who you got getting out of that series? Pacers or the Knicks?
I don't know, man.
Let me say this. Let me say this. You can't win, to me, a series like this one that requires your best players to step up when their best is required. When you got a guy like Tyrese Halliburton who's okay with taking 4 shots in the first half of the game, taking 9 shots in a critical, pivotal game 5, and being okay with that.
And that's why I don't know, because with all the Knicks injuries and the way Tibbs only plays 7 and the way the Pacers get up and down, this should be the Pacers series. It should be. But you have, you just went over Tyrese Halliburton. Pascal Siakam is not, an alpha out there. Mm-hmm. So you have too much of, you don't know which Pacers team is going to show up. For me to give them any, for me to show them any, I think they got it. This is the Knicks series to lose. Yep. Because you know what Knicks team is going to show up 99% of the time. And they just got an extra day off. Yeah. And I know Jalen Brunson is going, if a shot needs to be taken, I know he's not afraid to take it. You know where it's going and you can't stop it. And you can't stop it. I still don't know how they let him get his left hand every time. But you just got to pray he missed. That's it. That's it. And so I think ultimately the Knicks are going to win this series. It may go to 7. Yeah, but I think it will, because Indiana's going to go home. Halliburton is going to be more aggressive. Yeah, he's going to shoot 18 times tomorrow. And they're not going to win Game 7 in the Garden, though. No, they won't. That's not going to happen. So I don't see that doing it. It's going to be the Knicks, and the Knicks are going to, they're going to give Boston the fight because Boston is soft. You know what? Shout out to my girl, Miss Perry, Miss P out there, big Celtics fan. I keep telling her I don't believe in her Celtics. They got to prove it to me, because the same thing, and it's not the exact same thing, but to me, Jason Tatum is a guy that
I don't think he is capable of just taking over a game.
You know
And
what they're
Jaylen
missing.
Brown can't dribble, right? So
I mean, we knew this last year,
right? We saw it was on full display against
yeah.
the Warriors in the finals, and then we saw it even more last year. Like, he can't dribble, so it's tough because you're asking guys who aren't comfortable doing certain things to have to do certain things.
Highly skilled,
Yep,
very talented team.
yep,
Obviously, a better team when Porzingis plays,
absolutely.
but they're missing something.
Yeah,
They gave it away when they traded Marcus Smart.
yeah. Well, see, I think they got that in Drew Holiday. That's
No,
what the Bucks are missing right now.
They have the skill, right?
You talking about that dog? You talking about
they
that dog.
don't have the dog.
The dog.
And that is what they're missing. They are missing a dog because Tatum isn't a dog. Jaylen isn't a dog.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday isn't a dog. Now he plays like one, but he don't bring that
energy.
Don't bring that energy that Marcus Smart
and that grit and that toughness. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
And that's what the Celtics are missing because they don't have that on their roster. Yeah. So when they start missing threes, you don't have that person who say, you know what? We going to the rim now. I'm gonna take it to the rim 5 straight times and force the officials to do something. I'm barking at it. You don't, and you kind of need one of them,
right?
You know,
somebody that's willing to get a technical foul, get in somebody's face,
do it all. You take the hard foul just cause, like, and they don't have that. So when they not making threes, they're very susceptible to being beaten.
And I don't like that they don't win at home. What good is being the number 1 seed if you're susceptible to losing on your home floor?
It's like they go home and get real comfortable.
Real comfortable. Get to sleep in their own bed, and they don't know how to act. You know, they go on the road and they a whole different team.
So I'm very interested to see a New York Boston series because I want to see, even though New York is shorthanded and ultimately, you know, I think they probably lose that series.
Yeah.
Once again, Boston's going to have a fight on their hands, and they're going to have to take it. The Knicks aren't going to give it to you.
They better hope OG Anunoby doesn't come back healthy in that series.
They better hope. That's their only hope.
He comes back, and they could be in some trouble.
I don't think he's going to come back because it's the hamstring.
The hamstring, those take a while, but
it's still going to be a fight, and that's the thing. That's the thing, you know, that Boston don't like being punched. They don't like being pushed.
Yeah.
So, you know, they remind me of, they're like a front runner team.
Yeah. They're the basketball equivalent of the Ravens to me. So I say that because the Ravens are the best front running team in the NFL. They get on top of you and they murder you, and they'll beat you by 1,000,000. But you punch the Ravens in the face, that's why they don't win in the playoffs. You punch them in the mouth in the playoffs, they usually don't. Tennessee did it the year Lamar won his first MVP. The Bills did it to him the year after that. Kansas City. I said that this year in the NFL was the year Giannis won his, because you just talked about injuries in the playoffs. There was no more injury-riddled postseason than the year Giannis won the championship. Everybody got hurt, and it paved the way for somebody to get a championship that wasn't going to get a championship. Book almost got a championship. He's never, and I said, I'm a Chris Paul hater. I can't stand Chris Paul. So I was like, you can't win a championship if he's on your team. So I needed Giannis to do what he ultimately did. But I said, I told Giannis, I said, if you don't get a chip this year, you'll never win a chip, bro. And he went postal. He went off and got that chip. But I say that because this was the year for the Ravens. Like, no Joe Burrow, right? The Chiefs' offense has never been worse than it was this year. Mm-hmm. The Bills were struggling even to just make it to the playoffs. The Red Sea parted for them. They had home field advantage. The first time the Chiefs have ever had to go on the road in the playoffs in the Mahomes era, period. They've never been on the road. They had to go on the road twice, including 2 Baltimore, and they blew it because they're a front-running team. Yeah, I see the same thing with Boston. If you punch them in the mouth, you're physical with them, and like you said, if they're not hit, because they're more skilled than you. the Celtics are.
Yep.
So if you let them shoot the three, if you give them the space, that's why Porzingis is so important. Because the biggest issue they had was when they would set the screens. If the two best players are setting screens, it's Brown setting a screen for Tatum. Well, you're getting the same defender, right? Mm-hmm. You're getting a wing defender guarding you, and so you're not getting a favorable matchup. So now with Porzingis in that pick and roll, now you're getting a mismatch. Now Tatum got a guy he could put on skates and then shoot that step back three on, or take it to the hole. Same with Jaylen Brown. So now you have that floor space, and now you have what the Nuggets got the best pick and roll in the NBA, right? Because you got Joker and you got Murray. And so you pick your poison, and you know Joker's going to make the right basketball play no matter what. So I look at the Celtics, and I still think they're the best team in the East, and I still think they're going to make it to the finals.
I got them making it to the finals. Yeah. I got the Celtics in Denver, in
the finals. Okay, let's go west. Let's go out west real quick. So I think I don't want to speak for you. You feel like Denver has figured out whatever was going on in the first two games.
They started taking it serious.
That's what you think it was. They had to wake up.
I mean, they had to do some adjusting. I think having Aaron Gordon bring the ball up and initiate the offense definitely took some pressure off of Murray, who Ant was guarding him 94 feet. Jaden McDaniels guarding him 94 feet.
Boy, they got so much length.
Nickel Alexander come in. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Walker, he guard 94 feet. So I think unlocking Aaron Gordon has been the key to the Nuggets series.
Yes. He's so good too.
Yeah. I mean,
people forget how good he is.
People forget the player he was in Orlando.
Yep.
He was Paolo Banchero before Paolo Banchero in Orlando.
That's right.
So he has all of that ability. He just slid into a role once he got to Denver because he only had to play a role. But he can guard 1 through 5. Right. He can initiate offense.
He's a rebounder machine.
He's a rebounder. He can pass, the right play. And that unlocked everything because now the offense doesn't run through Murray. The offense runs through Joker or Aaron Gordon. Mm-hmm. And Murray has become, you eat off of these initiations now. Mm-hmm. And then
play off the ball.
And then Joker has been very aggressive.
That's an understatement. Last game, it's almost like he took it personal. Like, okay, so you're the defensive player of the year. All right, bet.
Okay. Right. Let me show you.
Yeah.
And his facial expression don't change. Yeah. He just looks like I'm just out here playing the game. Yeah. But barbecue chicken. Rudy was barbecue chicken.
He was licking his fingers too.
Yeah, like yo, if y'all gonna put this guy on me, it's a wrap. And when Rudy has to guard Joker, Rudy can't float. Mm-mm. Because now you can't put Rudy on Aaron Gordon no more. Because Aaron Gordon is initiating offense. So now you can't have Rudy out there playing a strictly, a perimeter game. Mm-hmm. So I think that was one of the brilliant moves that Michael Malone did was turning Gordon into the point forward. So now you can't put Rudy on him. And now you done turn Jamal Murray, you done put him off the ball. So now he's running off screens. Mm-hmm. Now he's making... If Ant Edwards is guarding him, he's making him work harder now. Because now you got to run through screens, baby. Yeah. Like you ain't just sliding up the floor with me. Now you got to take all these body blows. So that was very key.
And this is why I told you I love playoff basketball because you have to adjust. The adjustments are the key to success. They also started running doubles at Ant and giving him different looks and different coverages.
Somebody else got to beat us.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. I don't think you got another dude. Cat ain't going to do it.
Nope.
Jaden McDaniels, who had a ridiculous first series, he ain't going to do it. Like, make somebody else get you. And if Ant wants to get 44, make sure none of them other dudes eat.
Nope. And once they did that changed, their intensity picked up for sure, but that changed the series. It was, my homeboy put in the chat the other day, he was like, Yeah, man, I think they're gonna beat these. I think they're gonna beat them 4 times, like straight. I think it's over for Minnesota. Like they look this. They look like we don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
We don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
And so, it's hard. I think a Denver Dallas matchup is going to be interesting, but Dallas don't have anybody that can guard Joker.
Right. I
mean, they don't have.
It ain't too many in the league that can.
No, and they don't have the players to constantly run at Jamal the way. The Timberwolves are number 1 defensive team in the NBA.
Right. They're so long, man. They can switch everything. That's what gave Phoenix problems. Is like there was no clear advantage. They can switch 1 through 5, especially when Rudy's not on the floor. Like I felt like, and I know this is crazy, Naz Reid is the better fit than Rudy Gobert, but that's just me. Like, I felt like the reason they blew Denver out so badly in the game Rudy missed because of his baby being born is because he wasn't there.
But I think what they've shown when they've tried to run the Karl Anthony Towns and Naz Reid lineup is Joker said, I'm tired of playing with y'all.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bully whoever y'all put on me at this
Nas
point.
is like 195 soaking wet. Like he's just going, and then you got to put Cat on him, and now Cat's in foul trouble. It's tough. That's why Rudy is almost, he is imperative. But I just feel like they're a better team because they can space the floor better with Naz Reid out there, and Rudy's not clunking up the lane.
I think the fact they don't have another person to take some of the load off of Ant is what is going to ultimately doom them this series.
Yeah.
Not.
And that guy's supposed to be Cat. He's supposed
to be Cat, but Cat has been, picking up dumb fouls and.
But that's what he do. He's not a high IQ basketball player.
We see.
Yeah. He's been that way for a very long time.
So it's definitely going to be. They play tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. If Minnesota has made any adjustments, because I don't think once Denver made their adjustments, Minnesota hasn't made any adjustments.
To the adjustment, and I don't know if there's one that they can make to save them.
Probably
same
not.
with the OKC series. I just think it's a lack of experience there. They're a young team. They should feel good about what they did this season, being the youngest team in NBA history to be a 1 seed, to advance, to get you that experience. I think it is imperative. The NBA is one of those leagues where you don't get to skip steps. No. You got to take your lumps.
Gotcha.
You're not going to just show up and win 3 series and make it to the finals. You're going to get bounced your first 2 years or so, and then you might finally get over the hump. And so I don't think when I look at OKC, and I want your opinion on them in that series quickly. I look at that series. I don't think Shea has so their second best player is what is his name?
Jalen Williams.
Mm-hmm. He can't be your number 2. Not now, at least. Maybe in 2 years he can. Not now.
Yeah, I think OKC, they got a couple things. This was a bad matchup for them. One, because you have a person, you don't have a true number 2 at this point. They're small inside, so it's been Lob City for Derek Lively and Gafford.
I would like to just get a Derek Lively. Hasn't he been like a revelation for them as a rookie? God, he's giving them some good minutes off the bench. And I'm a Duke fan, and I already knew what he was going to be at the next level.
The thing I love the pick when they got it, but then when they got Gafford, who's basically a similar player,
but bigger. He's bigger and more experienced than Lively.
He's a bigger and more experienced player, but they have. It's like most of the times when you get 2 bigs, they're different, right? Like they're not the same. You have the same type of big.
They are literally the same player, but like I said, Lively is what Gafford was when he was a Rocket and then a Wizard.
A Bull. He was a Chicago Bull.
A Bull.
Yeah.
And then then a wizard.
Then a wizard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what Lively is now, right?
So they have the two bigs that pick and roll, play above the rim.
Mm-hmm.
Derrick Jones, play above the rim. When he hitting his threes,
I've been so
trouble.
surprised by what he's been providing them in this series.
And he's very crucial to how they play and getting PJ. So we had this discussion because Dallas, and we good to go over an hour or two.
Okay.
Dallas originally wanted Kyle Kuzma.
Okay.
Wizards didn't really like the deal. They weren't excited about the deal. I'll say that. And so they asked, and Kyle Kuzma didn't want to go to Dallas. He didn't want to be relegated to standing in the corner and shooting threes again.
Right.
And so the Wizards said, all right, cool, we good on that. So then Dallas pivoted to PJ and Daniel Gafford. Best thing to happen to Dallas.
Yep.
That was the best thing to happen because now you got the other big and you got PJ Washington, who's finally starting to turn into the PJ Washington, we knew from Charlotte.
That's right.
And so now you have, how tall is PJ? Like 6'9", 6'8",
Yeah,
6'9"?
he's 6'8", 6'9", somewhere in there.
6'8", 6'9", but he can guard, forwards and guards. He can score. He can rebound. You have Daniel Gafford to alternate with Lively. And now you have Derrick Jones playing a role of, you could put him on the Shea. You could put him on, so if they go on to face Denver, he'll probably be guarding Murray. Like, you could put him on your best wing, on the opposing team's best wing player.
Yep.
Put PJ on the other wing player that you need to put him on. And now you have coverage.
Yep.
You have defensive coverage, and then you have two players back there ready to swatch.
To erase any mistakes.
So you don't have to depend on, you just need, at that point, Luka and Kyrie to be serviceable on defense. Now, Kyrie been playing some defense now. He's been playing his ass off.
Yep.
But you just need them to be serviceable at that point. And
that's why his offensive numbers haven't been great, because he's been playing his ass off on defense.
Yeah, he's sharing the ball. Except for yesterday, he killed a lot of us yesterday with only 4 assists. But he's been sharing the ball. He's been playing defense, and he's basically been supplying whatever they needed at the time versus just going out there and trying to go crazy on offense. It's like, what we need. Because it's Luka's team. So you're like, Luka, you get off. All right, you out. It's my turn. Okay, we need scoring in the second half. Let me turn it up on the scoring. Oh, we need to get guys involved. I'm gonna make sure we get guys involved. So he's been that guy supplying whatever they needed, and it's been beautiful to watch, man. Like, I'm really impressed by this Dallas team.
Yep.
This is the best defense I've seen them play since Luka been there. This the most, like I said, Gafford, Nico Harrison, I believe that's their guy's name in the front office. He did a tremendous job at the trade deadline.
Yeah,
and they're missing Maxi Kleber, who helped stretch the floor. They was missing Tim Hardaway Jr.
for a while.
The injury that he came back and Maxi Kleber went out, so they still have some improving to do.
You know what, too? You know what PJ brought? What I thought was the missing ingredient. We just talked about this with Boston. He brings toughness.
Yeah.
He brings grit. I always felt like Dallas was soft. And I felt like this offseason, they made it a point of emphasis, because when they traded away, what's my man with the thick dreads that they traded to the Nets?
Bullet,
but Finney.
Dorian Finney.
When they traded Finney, not Bullock was the one with the dreads. They traded Finney to the Nets. They lost a lot of toughness, right?
They did.
And when they lost Jalen Brunson, he was the toughness, right? He was the toughness. And they tried to replace that with Grant Williams, and they realized quickly this ain't working, right?
This ain't it.
This ain't it. And they went and got PJ, and man, like you said, that changed everything. Getting him and Gafford changed everything, but especially PJ Washington, and with him playing the way that he's playing, that other night when he had 29 points, like when he's doing that, it's going to be tough to beat them.
It's very tough because that's the third player. Like, you always got to fear Kyrie. You always got to fear Luka, of course. and now I gotta fear this other guy.
Yeah.
Like who can because even yesterday he didn't have a big scoring game,
Right.
but he was grabbing
He got
rebounds.
he had double. Yep. 10
Yeah,
points, 10
like
rebounds. Yep.
yeah, and this is like you look up like, damn, you got 10 rebounds,
Yep.
really? Like so,
And he's still
yeah,
guarding, you know.
they built a phenomenal team. I don't know if it's going to be enough to handle Denver, but
That's right.
they built a phenomenal team in Dallas, and it's been a joy to watch, man. I enjoy watching Dallas play playoff basketball.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I was going to say that again once Dirk left.
Yeah.
But I enjoy watching them play playoff basketball. And shout out to Kyrie, man. I know, you know, Kyrie at this point is more known for his, off the court, stances and
Hoopers
things.
know though, man. Like that dude. Is
Hoopers
else,
know,
man.
When
he's
he
different, bro.
When ball is the focus.
Yeah, when he's locked in.
When he is locked in, bro, it's I don't know who game is prettier.
No.
Like
I don't know if we've ever seen a tighter handle and a better finisher around the rim than Kyrie Irving. I don't know if we've seen that combination in one body ever. We've seen dudes who can dribble. We've seen guys that can finish. I don't know if we've seen the combination of those two aspects of the game in one body like we see with Kyrie Irving. He's got the ball on the string, and he can give it to you on either side, left or right hand. Finishes English off the top of the glass. It don't matter. Up and under. It's crazy. I've seen him make some of the craziest, most creative layups in traffic.
Them left hand layups, man. Them left hand hooks, them left hand layups. It's like, bro, you're out here wilding with those.
Yeah,
like
he's
he got a combination of like Rod Strickland and Isaiah Thomas handle.
Yeah,
it's
ridiculous.
It's crazy. It's crazy to witness, but yeah, man. Like I said, watching Dallas. Like you said, OKC, y'all just great season, but y'all not ready. Y'all need more seasoning, and y'all got to figure out what y'all gonna do with Josh Giddey.
Yeah,
because this
they benched him. I told after the first series, I was like, I hate calling dudes trash. I'm like, Josh Giddey he's mid, right? Like he is basic. He doesn't play any defense, and like I think they thought they were getting Ricky Rubio, right? He's not Ricky Rubio. If he could just be Ricky Rubio, he would complete what they need.
Yeah, he not Ricky Rubio because he don't play defense like
he don't
Ricky.
Play no defense.
I think the problem happened. This is when you have talent in abundance, right?
Yeah.
They, for a while they was just drafting. Obviously, they got Shea in the trade, but they were just drafting best player available for whatever they profile. And he fit into that profile, but he's a lead guard. Mm-hmm. You're not handling the ball most of the time.
Yeah.
If you're a lead guard who's not a great shooter,
he not.
Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
So I felt that even during the regular season, he probably should have been coming off the bench and let him run your second unit versus trying to play him with Shake, because now you can stretch the floor differently if you got an Isaiah Joe in there.
Yep, that's right.
Or even Aaron Wiggins. Any one of them, like, you're going to stretch the floor differently. Mm-hmm. So I think this summer, what they realized, like, okay, I think Giddey's probably going to be on the move for something else they need, because they have a backup ball handler in Casey Wallace.
I like him a lot too.
He's a way better shooter. He's a way better defender, and he can handle the ball. And Jalen Williams handles the ball as well. So he's going to continue to improve. But I think they're going to have to trade Giddey, and they got to get some more beef. Like, they need some more beef.
Yeah. It was comical watching Jonas Valanciunas just go to work down there on poor Chet Holmgren, right?
Jonas was winning me some money.
I bet he was. But you already knew the deck was stacked heavily against Chet, and you knew it. And so you was like, yeah, let me go ahead and slam down a few on Jonas.
I saw that first game.
Yeah,
when they played without Zion, and then I saw how they was using Jonas. I said, yeah, I'm betting doubles on Jonas.
Yeah.
Now he disappointed me like one night, but I was like, I'm betting, I'm putting money on him because like they need beef. Like, and you seeing it with Gafford and Lively. Like,
Yep.
they just dunking all over the place,
Yep.
and that's the weakness that they're gonna have to shore up a
Absolutely.
little bit. So, but I like where they are. I like where they're heading. SGA should have gotten more, if not win it. He should have gotten more first place votes for MVP. And yeah, man, I think they're gonna be fine though. I like the way they built that team. Hopefully, Dawkins and Winger. We don't have an SGA in Washington, but hopefully that shows what the Wizards can be eventually. After some draft picks and hopefully a trade or two in there. So
I think they have the best general manager in the NBA, but that's another story for another day. I'm talking about the Thunder. So you got Nuggets and Celtics in the finals, right?
I do.
Okay.
I got money. I got money on it.
You got so
I got money on it.
That's what you're banking on right there. Literally, that's what you're banking on. Before we move on and switch gears, give me the state of the Wizards.
Year 2 of a rebuild. I put it online, man. People are they all over the place. Mm-hmm. Once we got, the lottery came down, and for me, the only misstep, and it's still an incomplete because we don't know how it's going to shake out, but the only misstep I give to Winger and Dawkins so far, I'll just say Dawkins since he's the GM, to this point, is not trading Tyus at the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. Now, if they get a better deal by doing a sign and trade, then take that back, right?
You'll retract that.
I'm going to retract it. But right now, that's the only thing I'm like, everything else they've done, this is year 1 of a rebuild. Yeah. And so when people were clamoring for, trade Bill, start over, I don't think they understood what they was really saying. Yeah. Like, you know what this means, right?
So this is the problem. People, I don't think they like everybody's gung ho when you talking about doing it, but they don't understand what that actually entails and what you about to have to go through, right?
Yeah, and this isn't just I think what people didn't realize is this isn't just a tear down of the team that plays on the floor. Yeah. They had to they're tearing down the organization and rebuilding it brick by brick. And that's the part, it's like they're trying to they fired everybody on the coaching staff except for the 2 guys that they brought in last year. They fired people in the front office. Yep. Like, they are literally rebuilding this thing brick by brick, and it's going to be a long ride. Like, this isn't going to be so them saying, so now the word is like they want another first round pick, and I was posting this online the other day, like, yeah, this is considered a quote unquote weak draft, but even in a weak draft of 2013 where Anthony Bennett was the first pick, you have a 2-time MVP and Finals MVP in Giannis, who was picked 15th. You have a 4-time, I think it's 3 or 4-time Defensive Player of the Year in Rudy Gobert, who was picked 27th. So what that says to me, which I already knew, but what this says to me is talent is everywhere. Yeah, you have to have the foresight, the plan, the patience, and the time to develop these players. A lot of players burn out, and it's not because they not good. Yeah, like, you're good. True story. I was in college. I went to North Carolina Central. Yep. I'm in between Duke and Chapel Hill and NC State. Mm-hmm. We used to go every Sunday. We would go over to Chapel Hill and play basketball. Mm-hmm. And the old, like the side, their recreation gym was the old gym where Michael Jordan played. I think it was McDonough or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it was courts on the other side. And we used to be in there playing. And every once in a while, you'll have a UNC player in there. Mm-hmm. So, like, I played with against Brendan Haywood. Mm-hmm. And then it was another cat. I can't remember his name, but he was on the team. And he didn't hardly play. He didn't miss a shot out there with us, bro. Yeah. a shot.
Yeah.
And it was all nothing but bottom of the net.
Yeah.
So these guys don't suck.
Yeah.
They just aren't as good as the people in front of them. So
That's right.
for me, you have a lot of players that didn't pan out. Some of them, like Oladipo, injuries.
Yep.
He couldn't beat the injuries. But then you have players that never fully developed, like a Michael Carter Williams.
Yeah.
Big, tall. He basically was Shea before Shea.
Yep.
He just can't shoot.
Yep.
Like, he didn't have a shot. He didn't have a jumper.
Yep.
So you have these players that had tools, that had potential, but they weren't in the right situations.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't properly developed. They probably lost confidence, or injuries took over. So it's not like guys just was trash.
Right.
And that's the point I was trying to make. The 3-time MVP was picked in the second round, G. Like, Denver was deciding between Joker and Nurkic.
Yeah.
Like that, they was deciding between them two at one point.
Yeah.
So it's and obviously some of it's on the player, but point being, when you're rebuilding, the goal is to take as many stabs at the apple as you can, because you never know who's going to turn into that generation defining or that great talent. It can come from the first pick. It can come from
the 15th pick.
The 15th pick. It can come from the 41st pick. You don't know where it's going to come from. So I'm all for take the stabs. Take whoever you think has the highest ceiling.
Yeah.
Go get them. Because for years, Tommy Shepard was taking high floor, low ceiling players.
Yeah.
Now you get a Bilal Coulibaly, who's a high ceiling player. It's gonna take some time though.
Yeah.
Like before we get the full player. I mean, shit, Kawhi Leonard was picked 15th.
That's why I said 15th in particular, because who thought Kawhi Leonard was gonna turn into what he turned into?
He had to learn how to shoot.
Right. Like, everybody just saw him as a defensive guy, right? When he came in the league.
Yeah.
He couldn't even hardly dribble when he came in the league.
No. He just knew how to play defense because that's what they play at San
And he
Diego
was
State.
long as hell.
I mean, Paul George. What Paul George picked like 13th or something? Like, so for me, I don't really concern myself with the all the players in next year's draft. It's some players in this draft. Yeah.
There's gonna be one or two gems that get unearthed. You just gotta find them.
Raw. They're all raw. All these guys are raw.
Is there a sport that is more impatient than the NBA?
No.
The NBA gives up on young players faster than any other. Like, teams give up on guys after a year or two.
Yeah.
Right. And I get it. Sometimes you can look at a dude and say he can't do it or he doesn't fit here. Right. But like you said, sometimes it takes patience. And a lot of time, these teams just don't give these players enough time to figure it out. And I was hoping with, the G League that players would get more opportunities to stay around, get that run that they need, keep that, because a lot of times what ends up happening is you lose confidence.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
You come in, you can play, and then you get to the league, and slowly but surely, right? they chip away at your confidence, right? Mm-hmm. You start out, you come in, you wide-eyed, you feeling like, yeah, I can do this, and the next thing you know, you start out playing 15 minutes, and then next thing you know, you don't know if you're gonna show up at the gym that night, you're gonna get some run or not. Do I even need to take the warm-up off?
You done racked up 10 DMPs.
DMPs in a row. Now you at the end of the bench and you ain't taking the warm-up off, right?
Yep.
And all of a sudden you start questioning, am I even good enough? Can I do this? Right? I see that happen with so many players where you go, bro, that guy's talented, but they just didn't give him enough of a chance to develop. So I think
systems matter.
Yep.
Like, systems matter. Like I said, I think I just look at it like a lot of people were ready to give up on Denny Avdia after his first and second year.
Yep.
Then look what he became this year. Who's this guy?
Right.
Who is this guy this year? And so some of these things just take time, man. And if you a Wizards fan, just know you in for the long haul. Because even down to the coach, like people like, oh man, how Charlotte fired, their coach quit after we knew we needed a coach halfway through the season, but they got a coach already. Did they call that guy? It's like their coach is already on the staff, bro.
Yeah.
West Sunset Jr. didn't bring in Vanderpool and Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Dawkins did. He knew who his next coach was going to be when he brought him in, because everybody got fired except for who? Keith and Vanderpool.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew who his next coach was going to be.
Yep.
It's about filling out the rest of the staff now.
Yep. And those assistants are important. A lot of people don't realize that in the NBA, but those assistant coaches, they are like
they do the developing.
Yeah, they do the developing. Some of these dudes are the architects of your defense.
Your offense.
Like it's almost like an offensive and defensive coordinator. Like you got to have them assistants there that are going to be able to pour into those players and set things up and kind of set the tone for what you want this team to be. The coach is obviously going to have the overall, focus of the roster, but those assistant coaches are like vital.
They keep if you set. They keep everybody in the lane they supposed to be in. That's what them assistant coaches are there for. If the organization has a philosophy, then the head coach has his philosophy, which should be in tune with the organization's philosophy. Them assistant coaches are there to make sure everybody stays on the same page, and along with their other duties. And so they're very important. And whoever's coaching this team next season, we don't know if they're going to be coaching this team when they ultimately become a team that can compete for playoff spots and hopefully ultimately championships. It generally doesn't work out that way. But I know right now the focus is on development. So if you think they was going to try to get a Budenholzer or somebody, you was sadly mistaken. Yeah.
And that's not where they at in their development. You don't need one of those coaches.
This is year 2. Yeah. Of a rebuild. We're going to have 2 to 3 rookies on this team. Bilal Coulibaly in his second season, and the big dude, can't remember his name, start with a V, that came late in the season from Europe that could shoot.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
He looked good, actually.
He definitely looked good.
I was like, wait a minute, he got some game.
Kyle Kuzma might not be with this team come draft.
Right.
Tyus Jones might not be with this team. So this team,
I like Corey Kispert too.
I love Corey. I love Corey.
He's turning into one of the better shooters in the league too.
He plays the right way. He cuts.
Yep.
He's going to shoot the ball. He's trying to improve on his defense. He's not giving you the giddy defensive effort. I
wonder if he's going to be there when they're ready to compete. Probably. He might be a piece that you can use to get you some players or get you a player that puts you in a position to really. I don't know if he'll be a part of the solution when you're ready to start winning.
As of today, the only player, and this is just today, the only player I see there when they ready to compete is Bilal.
And it's Coulibaly, yeah.
Yeah, everybody else can get gone.
Yep.
Like you're building up. I had somebody they was talking about because I also put the post up like stop comparing what Ernie Grunfeld and Tommy Shepard did. They were, Tommy was a part of Ernie's staff. Stop comparing what they did for the past 20 years to Winger and Dawkins. Yeah. This is 2 different regimes. These are not the same. Winger and Dawkins didn't come from the Ernie Grunfeld tree.
Yeah.
So you can't put the mistakes of that regime onto this regime who's only been here a year. So because they were like, oh, they kept the same play. Like, bro, you got to field the team.
Yeah.
There is a thing called a salary floor. Yeah. Like you have to meet it.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna be fine. So keeping a Kuzma, keeping a Denny, trading for, because to my knowledge, they wanted to actually keep Chris Paul. But he didn't want to be there because he had to end his career. Yeah, I don't want to do another rebuild.
Yeah, I'm trying to win.
And so they said, okay, let's take a chance on a young, Jordan. So it's like Jordan Pooh. I'm trying to remember his last name. So it's like you gotta have these high dollar players to meet the salary floor. But Jordan Poole is only like 24, bro.
Yeah.
Like he still got developing to do. I think people forgot. Jordan Poole is playing a role he hasn't played in the NBA.
Yeah. I mean, I think
player.
Golden State went to his head though.
Of course.
Yeah, it went to his head.
Bro, you come in, you don't won championship.
And he was a huge part of that.
You winning these games. Mm-hmm. You playing with one of the best players in the league, one of the best players to play the game, revolutionize the game. Yes, it's going to go to your head.
Yeah, it went to his head.
Their organization runs completely different than how the Wizards ran when he got there. Mm-hmm. It's going to be different. Yeah. And he had to realize, oh, I got to be a different Jordan Poole on the court. Yeah. Like this ain't now you at the top of scouting reports now. Mm-hmm. You was just, hey, we got to defend Clay. We got to defend Steph. Yeah. We got to be on the lookout for Draymond. And whenever Jordan Poole get in the game, he can shoot too. Yeah. Now you at the top. So
that's right.
It was a year of adjustments for him as well. Now I don't know what he's gonna become. I doubt he's gonna be there when this thing turns around.
No, the goal right now is to build up the value of all of these because these are assets. That's what they are.
Exactly.
That's what they are. Build them up as much as you can so that they're worth as much as they can be worth and get as much back in return.
That's all they are. And if you're looking at them, like I said, other than Bilal Coulibaly, if you're looking at any of these other players as anything more than assets, you're looking at this thing all wrong.
You know what's funny is listening to you talk. I couldn't help but laugh. It sounded like you were talking to Commanders fans. You could have just substituted Wizards for Commanders.
Absolutely.
And you were talking to the same fan base.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing that's going on. They tore it down from the top, literally ownership from the top all the way down. Front office, they're still reshaping the front office. So let's switch gears now to the Commanders. They tore it, all the way down, and they're rebuilding it up. Mm-hmm. And this fan base, we have PTSD. All right.
Of course.
So one of the things that I talk about all the time is fans have PTSD because we're talking about a quarter of a century. When you put it that way, boy, it's a long time. A quarter of a century of mistreatment, essentially. We're going to call it mistreatment. That's putting it mildly, right? And so I get it. I understand that a lot of people are scarred and they have scars and they're like, bro, I don't trust this group. But I'm like, it's a different group.
It's a different group.
You can't put what Ron Rivera and that group did on this group. You can't put what Daniel Snyder and that regime did on this group. You got to give them a chance to show that they can or they can't. And so many people are reluctant to do that because of the scars, right?
I believe we're so used to not knowing what a functional organization looks like, a functional front office looks like. I mean, we had to deal with Vinny Serrato.
Oh man,
calling the shots. Bruce Allen calling the shots.
And that laugh, yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Yeah. So Daniel Snyder, making draft picks from his yacht. You know what I mean? So
I mean, as recent as Dwayne Haskins in 2019.
That's what I was referring to.
Yes.
So it's like, we forgot shit. Some of us, not even old enough to have known what the
glory years look like.
The Jack Kent Cook, Joe Gibbs, years look like, and how Bobby Beathard and how those teams ran.
Yep.
So we don't know what
a functional
organization a competent organization is supposed to look like.
That's right.
And so, now you said this year 1 is year 2 for ownership, but can you really count last year?
You don't because they literally came in here
right when training camp was starting.
Right. They literally got here the day before training camp started.
So they couldn't change anything.
They couldn't change anything. And really, when you come into a situation, you just want to assess, right? You just want to see what everything looks like.
And they saw, and now they have their president, GM, and he was able to assess and going through the draft and the processes he wanted, and so he started getting rid of people after the draft.
That's right.
Got a whole new coaching staff in here. I'm one to want to believe that Dan Quinn, after learning what he did right, what he did wrong, his first go around in Atlanta, that he's coming in differently, and he's even said it like, I brought in Cliff Kingsbury because I want somebody that's gonna run the offense. I brought in my guy Joe Witt to run the defense. I'm not doing defense. Like I'm overseeing the team.
That's right.
But he's gonna run the defense, and I need him to run. But he gonna call the play. So it's like he's trying to do things. Take the lessons he's learned and put them into effect. Like even down to I keep seeing people, oh man, every old Cowboy is giving look like, bro, you got to bring in people that know what you want to do.
That's right.
Like just like Cliff Kingsbury bringing in Zach Ertz.
That's right.
He know Zach Ertz knows what Cliff Kingsbury want to do on offense.
That's right.
So you need those players that understand because they're going to help the other players.
Yeah.
And so it's like, in year 1, year 2, this is what you're going to see. Now, if he's here year 3, year 4, year 5, we shouldn't be having this conversation. But year 1, you're bringing in guys that's familiar with your system because they're going to help push it along faster. So, I don't have a problem with anything Washington has done up until this point. Even the draft, it's like people are like, oh man, why would they draft a D tackle? Bro, we drafting best player available.
Absolutely. This is the thing that kills me with the fan base is like they're so focused, similar to what you were talking about. That's why I said literally the conversation you've been having with Wizards fans, I've been having with Commanders fans. You could just substitute Wizards for Commanders. It's the same conversation. Like, don't be overly concerned with we need a tackle, right? We need everything.
Everything.
This roster is incomplete. There's not a single position other than defensive tackle, and even that can be upgraded, right? There's not a single position that you should look at and say, hey, we straight. We don't need none of those. If there's a player there that can upgrade this roster, and for too long, that's been one of the problems, is we've targeted needs so much so that we've bypassed talented football players at other positions, i.e. drafting Jamin Davis in the first round. He was never a first-round pick. No. But we needed a linebacker so bad, they reached for a linebacker.
And now we still need a linebacker.
Right. And so the first time we've seen this organization actually pay attention to linebacker was this offseason. Like, we haven't paid attention. We haven't had a competent linebacker in Washington since London Fletcher.
London Fletcher.
Think about that. When did he retire? 2013, maybe?
I'm about to say it's been a while.
I mean,
it's been a while.
Are you kidding me? So to hear fans complain about not drafting a tackle as if that's the end all be all, like we need everything. You should be trying to get the best possible players. You should be maximizing your draft picks. So I kept telling people in the second round where we were drafting, the value was not at tackle. There was nothing there that you should have wanted to spend a pick on at tackle. So I thought I had done a mock draft, and in my mock draft I took Johnny Newton.
Wow.
And so, all right, let me toot my own horn. We drafted Dominique Hampton in the 5th round. I put him in my mock draft. And I had Jordan McGee, our 7th round pick. Or was he was 5th round? I think he was a 5th round pick.
I can't remember.
I had him in the 7th round in my mock draft.
Gotcha.
But I had him, we drafted him in my mock draft. So I had 4 of the 9 picks. I had 4 of them right. Jaden Daniels, Johnny Newton, Dominique Hampton, and Jordan McGee. And because those players fit what Dan Quinn wants to do, right?
That was where I was about to go with it. I think people get caught up into who they think is a good player or good prospect, and they don't take into account The
The
fit.
fit. The fit.
The fit matters. What you want to do on offense, that's going to determine what type of tackles you need.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do on defense, that's going to determine what type of linebackers you need, what
That's
type
right.
of defensive tackles you need.
That's right.
Yeah, we like Jonathan Allen. Yeah, we like Deron Payne, but are they the type of D tackles that Dan Quinn needs?
Mm-hmm.
We don't know yet. So for me, I'm just like, we need talent.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're drafting basketball, football, my biggest thing, even baseball, my biggest thing is, if I'm drafting, I'm not drafting for need. That's what you use free agency for.
Yeah.
I'm drafting the best talent available when it's my turn, who I believe has the most potential, highest ceiling, whatever, the tools I need that I covet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm figuring it out later. I'm figuring fit out later. That's not a concern of mine on draft day.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where people get caught up at. They want fit. Oh, like even, like you said, we need an offensive tackle. Oh, we need this, we need that. If when it's time for your team to pick, if it doesn't line up, don't pick it.
Yeah.
Like, offensive tackle, they ended up getting one in the third round. That's where they saw the value at for who was left on the board.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive tackle, cornerback came.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we knew they needed a cornerback. But so it's just like, for me, if you look at what San Francisco was doing, they was just adding talent.
Mm-hmm.
Sort it out later. I knew that's what they was going to do. I knew that's what Adam Peters was going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going for, I talked to my offensive staff, talked to my defensive staff. I know what type of, we all agreed on what type of players we're looking for. They wanted team captains, leaders.
Yep.
So they knew exactly the profile of the players that they were looking for. And at that point, it's okay, now these are our players in this order and who we got. And they picked them. Mm-hmm. So even Johnny Newton had another surgery. Mm-hmm. We ain't worried.
Yep.
We got Deron and Jonathan, remember? Mm-hmm. Like, what's his name? The other guy, Phil.
Yeah, Fedarian Mathis.
Fidelian, he gets a chance to prove himself. It's a new day. So I'm not worried about those. Yo, get healthy, big man. Yep. Like,
so many people get so bent out of shape about stuff like that. Like, yes. I'm not, like, we're not winning nothing right now. Like,
nothing.
We are trying to build this roster and get it, where it needs to be, so that in 2 years we can compete for something meaningful, right? This is the foundational stage, if you will. We're building the foundation of this team because clearly we have the highest turnover rate right now in the NFL, right? They got rid of 21 guys off the roster from a season ago. Okay.
It's a lot.
So it's a different team, and you knew that was going to be the case. I've been telling everybody that this offseason, like, expect this roster to look vastly different. It's not going to look like what you've become accustomed to. Some of the guys that you got really comfortable with, the Cam Curls and the Curtis Samuels, and those guys aren't going to be here, right? Mm-hmm. Kendall Fuller, gone. Like, understand that this is going to be a totally different roster. And so you're seeing that play out. And to your point that you made with the draft, I think in the NBA, it is imperative you go about it in that way, right? You have to draft the best player available. You cannot draft for need in the NBA because you have to be able to just get the most talent that you can, especially now that the NBA is turning into positionless basketball, right? You just want to put your best 5 guys on the court. In the NFL, I feel like the teams that are closer to a Super Bowl can draft for need. Like, for instance, the Lions this year, they got a complete roster. The only thing they don't have are corners. So what did they do? They drafted a corner, right? And then in the second round, what did they do again? They drafted another corner, right? Because that's the one thing that they're missing. So you can draft for need when you're in that position. But everybody else, all the other teams that need stuff, you take the best player available. You would like it to coincide with a need. You would like to mesh those two things together. But you better be shopping for the best player available, or you're going to end up finding yourself out on the streets.
Yeah, like I want the best player available, because did we need a D tackle this year? No, but if Johnny Newton is what they think he is, now you don't have to pay big money to Jonathan Allen, when his deal is up. You can, hey, we appreciate what you did here, big dog, but we got your replacement over here on a cost control contract for 3 more seasons.
That's right.
So that allow us to do some other things.
Yeah.
And that's, I think people forget about that side of the game as well.
Absolutely.
Like this is a salary cap sport, people.
Yeah.
Like,
and you have to take that stuff into consideration, and they're always looking at that. That was one of the issues we had in Washington for a long time, is we didn't have a GM. When you can't have, I don't think coach centric works in the NFL, because a coach is always looking at the micro, right? Everything is day to day. I'm just trying to survive. I'm trying to win as many football games as I can this year, because you can't trust the process as a coach, because if you don't win enough games, you're gonna get fired, right? Whereas a GM, he's taking a macro approach, right? Where he gets to look at the overall picture. Yeah, he wants to win games now, but he also has to think about the future, right? Yep. So that player, he's got 3 more years on his contract, but the guarantees run out after this season. So he don't have to be here, or I could try to move him, And so I'm thinking about that in the draft, right? And so a lot of fans don't think about that. They just get attached to players, and they don't think about, oh, we need a tackle. But you're like, yeah, but that's cool. But there were no tackles here that made sense. So I'm gonna just take the best player available, and we'll figure out everything later, right? So many people are caught up on tackle. My thing is, yeah, you drafted a rookie quarterback. You don't want to get him killed. So you need to make sure that you have adequate tackles. You don't think they know that?
You don't think they know that.
Right. You don't think they have an idea of what they're putting on the field? You don't think they feel like they got enough guys to field a team that can actually compete? Like, they're still stuck on Rivera and Gruden and Bruce Allen and Vinny Serrato and Dan Snyder, and they're still thinking in that mindset. And I'm like, you got to give this group a chance.
Like, you have 3 football people making decisions.
Yep.
And this is the first time, except for that brief Scott McClellan era, where you've had a football person making football decisions in Adam Peters. And that's it's like I have to have faith until I'm shown otherwise.
Yep.
So until this thing, hopefully it doesn't, but until this thing falls flat on its face, I just have to sit back and say, hey, let's see what we got.
That's right.
Because even if it's picks or players they sign where I'm like, scratching my head, we get into the season, like, oh, now I see why they got this player. Oh, this makes sense. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. I didn't see the vision, because we don't know what the vision is.
Right.
We think we know what type of defense they're gonna run. We don't know. We think we know what type of offense they're gonna run. We don't know. We don't know if Cliff Kingsbury offense turned to what it turned to in Arizona because he had too much responsibility, trying to be the offensive guru and the head coach. If it was the personnel, if it was the quarterback, like, we don't know what it was.
Right.
But Dan Quinn saw something to him, because Dan Quinn made it known. I only go get offensive coordinators that gives me problems.
Right. That I respect, because they were tough to go against.
Because they were tough to go against. Those the type of offensive coordinators I want on my team. And it was brilliant. The way they stacked up that side of the squad is brilliant. You have Cliff Kingsbury. Say the offense shines, Jaden Daniels is out of this world, he gets another head coaching job in NFL or college. You got somebody ready to take his place in Brian Johnson. Mm-hmm. He on the staff too. He was thought of as the next hot candidate until he flamed out in Philly, which we finding out wasn't all his fault. Mm-hmm. He's running somebody else's system. He didn't even get to run his own system. Yeah. So the way they stacked up that side of the ball is to ensure Jaden Daniels has familiar continuity, regardless if somebody leaves or not.
That's right.
Brilliant. That was brilliant. That was brilliant coach staff building.
That's right.
Those are type of things we didn't see before.
Yep.
So those are the little things I'm paying attention to, which has me say, okay, I'm giving y'all time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if we win 4 games next season. If you show me a team that's playing hard,
Yeah.
and
You're gonna get that. You're gonna get that.
It's like, yo, we just not talented.
Yeah.
We just not talented enough. We're not there yet. That's a different type of feeling than, dog, really? Y'all lost to them? Like
That Bears game last year. What?
Y'all didn't just lose.
Yeah.
Y'all got embarrassed.
Embarrassed by a
the
team who
Bears.
hadn't won in like 14 straight games or something like that, dating back to the year before.
Like that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're gonna see any more of that.
I really think this is going to be a competitive team. And so I'm not even worried about that. I think this team is going to be so good defensively because of Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. that I think we're going to be in ball games. Now, will we win those games? Will we have enough to win those games? We'll see. Time will tell, but we're going to be in a lot of ball games. It won't be like last year where you expecting to get 40 put in your head and it's only a matter of time before, this thing gets out of hand, right? It got to a point last year where you expecting an ass whooping. You just wanted to know how bad was it going to be.
Now, I see us losing a lot of close games because I think the defense obviously is going to be way ahead of the offense, and I think that defense is going to be flying around and going to keep us in games. But we playing a rookie quarterback at the end of the day, so you never know what you're going to get.
So with that said, last thing, schedule. Have you had a chance to take a look at it?
I have not looked at the schedule. I forgot it came out yesterday.
Yeah, so I'm not going to hit you on that. I'll just tell you the schedule, it's doable. It starts out a little rough. First 3 out of 4 on the road, 4 out of 6 are on the road to start.
Wow.
Including a Monday night game in week 3 at Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Whoa, right? And then the Ravens are on the road in week 6. So there's some games in there where you go, to start. But after that, you get 5 out of your next 7 at home, which hasn't meant anything because we've been one of the worst home teams in the league. But you're hoping that changes, right? And there's some winnable games in there. There's a stretch in weeks 7 through 9 where you play home against Carolina, home against the Bears, and then at the Giants. I think that's going to be the pivotal stretch of the schedule. That's going to determine whether we're going to have a competitive season in terms of, hey, we're in week 14 and we're still in the hunt for a playoff spot, or you get to week 14 and you're just playing out the string of another season where you're just trying to get development out of your players and your young quarterback, right? So I think that's going to be the stretch. When you have a chance to look at the schedule, you'll see what I'm talking about. But I'm excited about this upcoming season for the Commanders because it feels – I keep telling people it feels different because it is different. That's my mantra. Yeah. Because so often we've said this feels different and it hasn't been different, but everything's different this time around, including ownership, front office. We got a real GM, head coach, the staff, like you said, that they've put together has been outstanding. And then even the roster building has been in sync with everything that they've done this offseason. It all feels like it's kind of coming together. Everything seems to be streamlined, like they're all on the same page.
That's the biggest thing. That's all I wanted to see.
Yeah.
Is everything moving in unison? And that's what it feels like. I think this is going to be an exciting year for Washington football because it's new. It's all new. And it's going to be an exciting year for me for Wizards basketball because now it feels like it's all new.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel all new last season, but now it feels all new. And I like the feeling of newness when we've been in the doldrums for so long.
Yes.
But I'm very excited for football. Like I said, I'm just interested to see how they play. And I have no doubt that they're going to play hard.
Yeah.
But I just want to see what it looks like. I think I want to see what Jaden Daniels look like.
Yeah.
I want to see what the offense looks like. I want to see that. That's why I knew, if anything, the safest player on the Washington Commander team was going to be Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
And not because he's good. Yes, he's good. We know he's good. All them yards with all them different quarterbacks. He's a leader.
Mm-hmm. He's
a captain. He's the type of player that they want on the team.
Yep.
But I'm very interested to see the way they play. I think that's my biggest thing is like, yo, I just can't wait to see the way they play.
Yeah.
Because I have hated the way Washington defense played and offense played since Ron Rivera has been the coach. Absolutely. I have not liked. I don't think I've liked the way Washington defense has played since.
You gotta go back to Greg Williams, probably.
I would say Greg Williams.
Yes. Yeah,
I think that's the last time I loved.
You could be proud of a Washington defense. Yeah, you gotta go all the way back to him and Greg Block. Yep, him and Greg Block. Yep.
So I'm definitely because I hate the Cowboys, but I love the way
they play defense.
I've
been talking about them the last 3 years with Dan Quinn. Like they fly, man. They fly around. They flock like a pack of wolves. You know, it's 11 hats flying to the ball on every type of.
Look what he was doing to the corners, man. Yeah. He turned Travion Diggs into a household name. Mm. He gets hurt. What happens? The Blanton kid turns into a household name.
Ron Bland goes bananas, ape shit.
The pick sixes, like, so I'm like, bro, y'all get Emmanuel Forbes. Y'all get his confidence back. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, boy. Yeah. Like it's gonna be crazy out there now. I don't know what they're gonna do with St. Juice, but So I'm just looking forward to this new era, man. It's exciting, and it's exciting in a way. It's not exciting like, oh man, they going to the Super Bowl. Like, no, it's not that type of exciting, but it's just exciting because, like you said, it's all new. It all feels fresh, and for me, I don't have PTSD. I have a sense of relief. Like I believe there's people in place that I can trust whatever their plan is. Yeah. Because it all looks in sync, as you said earlier. So I trust. I have no choice but to trust the plan because they haven't shown me otherwise. Yeah. Now we get 5 years into this thing.
That's right.
We still look like this year.
Yeah. Now we got some things we can talk about.
Now we can talk some shit.
Right.
But year one, come on, man. Like this ain't Madden, the video game. Like it's gonna take some time to get this thing working because like bro, after the draft, they just started firing so many people. It's like
they won't done. Yeah.
This is crazy. Y'all still firing people?
That's right.
So it's one of the things where like Adam Peters still next year will probably be his first year having everything in place in the offseason, system, processes, people, all of that. And we're probably even going to see a better offseason next year than we saw this year just because he has all of his people in place versus he just used Ron Rivera's people to get it done this year.
Yeah.
So,
man, it's going to be fun. I cannot wait. Bart Scott. Can't wait. But
can't wait.
I'm so appreciative of your time, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show, blessing the pod, man. I can't thank you enough. If there's anything you want to push, if you want to tell the people where they can find you, find your work, please, by all means, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you for having me, man. Thank you for reaching out and having me. Because I vividly remember the conversation we had when we was doing the Big Doug show. So that was dope.
Once again, shout out to Big Doug.
Definitely shout out to Big Doug. Y'all check him out. Check his show out with I think it's George Carmani. I think I said his name right. Yeah. So make sure y'all check out the Big Doug show. Yeah, man. Y'all can find me on Twitter, Rapper Big Pooh. Everything spelled correctly. Instagram, Rapper Big Pooh. And yeah, y'all can go to YouTube, Little Brother on YouTube. We have our documentary, Made a Lord Watch.
Oh my God. It's if you're a fan, it's must watch.
Even if you're not a fan. We was very intentional about doing a documentary that people who weren't familiar with Little Brother could, get something out of. So definitely go to YouTube, Made a Lord Watch, the documentary Little Brother on YouTube. Y'all check that out, man. And more music coming soon.
Oh, I can't wait. That's music to my ears. I can't wait. Hopefully, in the future, we can link up again. I can have you on my music channel. I got a lot of questions. Got a lot of questions, man.
For sure, for
Yeah,
sure.
so hopefully, we'll be able to do that in the future. But man, thank you so much for the generosity with your time, man. This was awesome and exceeded my expectations. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I told you, he told us, and I told you. He's more than beats. He's more than rhymes. All right. He's not your everyday find. Y'all saw that this man can talk sports all day long, all day strong, right?
I know way more about sports than I've ever known about music. And that's
he
all
proved
facts.
It today.
That's all facts. This is what I do.
That's right. I love it, man. So we're gonna have to do this again, man, for sure. And I really do appreciate you once again, man. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Absolutely,
Take care,
man. Thank you again, man. Have a good one.
Likewise, man. Likewise.
Peace.
Louie T Network.